From Lucy getting herself crucified by Roman cosplayers, to the Ghoul performing surgery on himself with a dog as his only companion, here is everything that went down in Fallout Season 2, Episode 3, The Profligate. Okay, so after 2 episodes of the show kind of spreading itself thin and trying to catch us up on where everyone ended up after Season 1, this 3rd episode finally feels like Fallout is hitting its stride again. We're back to focusing on our 3 main characters, and honestly, it's about time. Let's start with the cold open, because it genuinely caught me off guard. Remember Thaddius? Maximus's former squire, who got himself into some weird stuff at the end of last season. Well, he's back, and things have changed for the guy. Johnny Pemberton returns with a face full of ghoul prosthetics, and he's apparently running what can only be described as the most morally questionable bottle cap factory in the wasteland. And that's saying something considering the state of this world. Thaddius has got this warehouse full of child workers, and they're working 22-hour shifts, peeling bottle caps off sarsaparilla bottles. Which, if you need a reminder, bottle caps are literally the currency in this world. So he's basically running a mint staffed entirely by kids. Some of these children are ghouls, and some aren't. But Thaddius treats them all the same, which I guess counts for something. The wild part is that Pemberton plays this whole thing with such genuine warmth and optimism that you almost forget how deeply messed up the situation is. The kids have this little chant they sing about how most kids are dead by their age, so they should be grateful for what they have. You're laughing, but also feeling kind of bad about laughing, which is pretty much the show's whole vibe at this point. Thaddius seems genuinely happy to be out of the Brotherhood of Steel, and honestly, after seeing what goes down later in this episode with the Brotherhood, can you blame him? Now let's talk about Lucy, because oh boy, does she have a rough time this episode. Remember how last episode ended with her basically walking right into an obvious trap set by Caesar's Legion? Well, surprise, that didn't go well for her. She gets dragged into what can only be described as a nightmare theme park version of ancient Rome. People are getting whipped, teeth are being pulled, and everyone's walking around in the most historically inaccurate Roman armor you've ever seen. The woman Lucy was escorting gets her throat slit almost immediately. Then, Lucy gets brought before a guy who calls himself Caesar, and things only get weirder from there. This is where Macaulay Culkin shows up, and I'm just gonna be honest here. His performance is a bit of a mixed bag. He plays Lacerda Leggett, and there's definitely something entertaining about seeing the Home Alone kid as a Roman cosplayer in the post-apocalypse, but he's also kind of just there. He's soft-spoken and smirking, and it works as a signal that we're not supposed to take these Legion guys too seriously. But it also means Ella Purnell has to carry all the comedy of these scenes by herself. Good news is that Purnell is more than up to the task. Lucy is in peak form here, calling out all the dumb anachronisms and historical inaccuracies of these wannabe centurions. When they try to claim prima noctis rights, Lucy shoots them down by pointing out that she's not a virgin anyway, even if you don't count what she calls the page and a half of cousin stuff from her vault days. Here's where it gets interesting though. The Legion is basically in a civil war with itself. The original founder died and left a note in his pocket saying who should be his heir, but every time someone tries to get the note, the other faction starts shooting. So you've got 2 groups of Roman cosplayers who have literally divided their camp down the middle, like siblings fighting over a bedroom. It would be funny if it wasn't also, a community built on violence and cruelty. Lucy, being Lucy, decides she can help with conflict resolution. This goes about as well as you'd expect, which is to say, she ends up crucified. Actually crucified. While Lucy's having the worst day of her life, we catch up with the Ghoul, who's still at that hospital where Lucy left him last episode. Walton Goggins finally gets some real material to work with this season, and he absolutely delivers. The guy is in rough shape after that rad scorpion wound, but at least he's got dog meat keeping him company. There's this great scene where he's literally cutting the infection out of himself while philosophizing about the ship of Theseus paradox. You know, the old question about whether a ship is still the same ship if you replace all its parts one by one. Coming from a guy who's slowly rotting and replacing bits of himself, it hits different. What really got me though was the Ghoul basically admitting to Dogmeat that it's been a long time since he's had someone worth talking to. For a character who spent most of Season 1 being a terrifying gunslinger with questionable morals, seeing these little bits of humanity is genuinely affecting. The flashbacks this episode are some of the best stuff the show has done. We get to see Cooper Howard in his pre-war life, watching his wife Barb pack a box of keepsakes for their eventual vault stay. She's crying about having to leave things behind. It's intimate and sad and gives real weight to everything the Ghoul has become. Cooper goes to this fundraiser at an American Legion post where his buddy Charlie is getting an award. Charlie's played by Dallas Goldtooth, and he's great in this role as Cooper's old war buddy, who recruited him into whatever shady stuff Moldaver has them doing. Cooper asks about Robert House and learns that House is building some kind of weapon system in Vegas. Moldaver wants Cooper to kill House, but Cooper's looking for another way. Then Cooper goes to the bathroom and runs into a guy who's definitely Robert House, even though he's playing it coy. The tension in the scene is incredible. House makes veiled threats while Cooper tries to keep his cool, and the whole thing plays out as this quiet battle of wills between two guys who both know more than they're saying. House talks about sympathizing with the Pinkos and their grievances with the government while disagreeing with their solutions. He drops this line about backing billions of bodies into a corner that's genuinely chilling when you know what's coming for the world. Goggins and Theroux are both bringing their A-game here. Now let's talk about Maximus, because his storyline this episode is maybe the most emotionally moving of all three. He's still at Area 51 with the rebellious Brotherhood chapter led by Elder Cleric Quintus. Things are getting tense because Paladin Xander Harkness has shown up from the Commonwealth and he's basically there to smarm the rebellion out of existence. Kumail Nanjiani plays Harkness with this perfect slimy charm. He's all fist bumps and "we're just bros here" energy, while clearly manipulating everyone around him. In a council meeting, Maximus actually suggests they just kill Harkness before the Commonwealth brings its full force down on them. Aaron Moten delivers this line with such weary resignation, asking, "Well, that's what we do here, isn't it?" It's a great moment that shows how much Maximus has grown since Season 1. He's not naive anymore, but Quintus shuts him down hard, playing the mean dad and sending Maximus away from the meeting. This is exactly what Harkness was waiting for. He intercepts Maximus and starts his full court seduction, talking about how the clerics run everything in this chapter, and how back east it's guys like them, the ones who bleed for the cause, who are the real leaders. The Ghoul decides he needs to rescue Lucy, not because he likes her or anything, but because he figures he'll need her down the line. Very practical. Very Ghoul. His journey to find help takes him through some fun Fallout New Vegas Easter eggs, including a robot named Victor, who's got scrambled memory, and a lot to say about Robert House. Victor mentions that House had all the money in the world, but what he really wanted was to live forever. He also hints that the Ghoul had something to do with the cold fusion stuff back before the war, which, yeah, we're definitely going to learn more about that. Back to Maximus. Harkness invites him on a little unauthorized abomination hunt, just the two of them bonding in a vertibird. And for a minute, it actually seems like Maximus is having fun. He smiles for what feels like the first time this season. They're getting along, talking about preventing civil war, and you can see Maximus starting to believe that maybe the Brotherhood isn't all bad. Then they find unauthorized activity on the radar, and everything falls apart. The Ghoul ends up finding what's left of the New California Republic, which turns out to be exactly 2 soldiers hiding in the hills. Rodriguez and Biff have been cut off from reinforcements for over a decade, and Biff is clearly losing it. Rodriguez asks the Ghoul for help getting word to their battalion that they're still out there fighting. This is where the show's weird scope issues come up again. We keep hearing about the NCR as this last bastion of civilization and decency, but all we ever see is a destroyed city and 2 soldiers in the hills. Same with Caesar's Legion, which the games portrayed as a massive army, but here just seems like a couple small camps of angry Roman cosplayers. The show wants us to feel the weight of these factions, but hasn't really shown us enough to justify that weight. It's a minor complaint, but it's been nagging at me since season 1. Anyway, the Ghoul ends up making a deal with the Legion. He tells them where the NCR holdouts are, in exchange for getting Lucy down from her cross. But here's where the Ghoul shows he might still have some good in him. While he's carrying Lucy away from the Legion camp, he notices a huge cache of dynamite. And when we flash back to Charlie's speech at the American Legion about the bad things good people do for the right reasons, we know exactly what's coming. Charlie gives Cooper this lighter as a memento, mentioning he got it for saving a man, even though it took killing 3 men to do it. In the present, the Ghoul still carries that lighter, and as he questions whether he's making a mistake, the dynamite explodes, and the Legion's civil war kicks into high gear. It's a really elegant piece of editing, cutting between the past and present to show how Cooper's old idealism still lives somewhere inside the Ghoul. He says he's just being practical, but he went out of his way to give those NCR soldiers a fighting chance while taking down the Legion at the same time. The facility Maximus and Harkness investigate turns out to be Thaddius's bottle cap factory from the cold open. Harkness finds the children and immediately separates them into 2 groups, humans and ghouls. He tells the human kids to close their eyes, and with this private little smile that makes your skin crawl, he prepares to execute the Ghoul children. This is what the Brotherhood really is, underneath all that talk about protecting humanity. They're an organization that will gun down children because they have the wrong kind of skin. Nanjiani plays this moment perfectly. That secret smile before pulling the trigger, selling just how corrupted even the nicest Brotherhood member is deep down. Thaddius pops up trying to save his kids, but Harkness doesn't care. Maximus begs him to stop, to forget the rules, but Harkness won't listen. So Maximus smashes his skull in with that fancy rocket hammer. Maximus was genuinely starting to like this guy. He was having fun, making a connection, maybe believing things could be different. And then he had to kill him, because even the charming ones will execute children without hesitation if their ideology demands it. We didn't get any Hank or Norm this week, which is a shame, because that McLaughlin energy is always welcome. But with Lucy rescued, the Ghoul showing signs of his old humanity, and Maximus potentially having started a continental war, things are definitely heating up.